All right, friends, there ain't no getting out of it. It's time to pull an injection pump. So we're gonna work on that right after this. Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Rouse the Oliver Man. Our little 550 here that belongs to a customer has been here much time. Too much time is the accurate description. Whose fault is that, you ask? Why, it's 100% mine. I should have not dragged my feet on it, because now I'm paying for it in the form of the injection pump is not pumping, and I'm going to have it gone through for him again. And everybody commented and stuff. Look at that. A mouse started making a house out of my paper towel, and it's only been like a couple days. That's ridiculous. I hope it dies a slow, painful death. But at any rate, everybody was commenting, did you do this? Did you do that? I don't think you did this. I don't think you did that. Friends, I did it. Everything you suggested has already been tried. I tried everything so that I didn't have to get to this point of pulling an injection pump, and it just ain't happening. It's getting plenty fuel because it will actually fill itself up again after you're done, but it's just not putting out the high pressure fuel. And so what I'm thinking is that those little plungers that are in there are stuck, and that's what my problem is, because the metering valve moves and the transfer pump is pumping, but I'm not getting any high pressure fuel exiting. And there might be more in there that I don't understand. I've seen these apart. They're really not that difficult. I could rebuild them myself if I wanted to, but why should I do that? There will come a point when I have to do that, but right now the guy that I use is very reasonably priced, and it's only, you know, I would rather let a guy do it that has done thousands of these. Literally, he's probably done more than, he's probably done 10,000 of these, because he can put it together right and test it when he's done, and then we know we got something. So that's why. I mean, I could do it myself. I really could. The kit is cheap in the grand scheme of things, but, and like in this case, then all I would be out is my time. But I don't feel that's fair to this customer, because when he brought it, this pump had just been gone through, and now it's got a problem. So I feel like it should go back to him with a fresh rebuilt pump, not a 3-year-old pump or whatever it's been. So I'm going to just take it in and lick my wounds and go on. So the unfortunate fun time of a 550, as previously discussed, is that everything is cram packed in here, and we got to take the starter off before we can ever even attempt the pump going off of here, because we don't have, literally there is no space. You can get the starter and kind of pull out and then miss that to get the starter out, but you can't do anything with the pump. So you gotta have it out of the way, starter out of the way. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna dive in and we're gonna make this happen. I'm not happy about it, but there's nothing I can do at this point other than just move on. That's the way it is with a lot of this working on stuff. Finally, you bang your head against the wall enough times, it's time to just open your wallet and move on. You know, Moline Dan learned that on his 550. He had that thing apart so many times, he should probably put wing nuts on the transmission cover. And I couldn't be much help to him, because I watched the videos and I thought he was doing everything right. So I would have been just as stumped as he was, you know. And by the time you pull it apart and find out it's a 10-cent O-ring probably that was causing your problem, that's kind of frustrating. But what do? You just do it and move on, and that's the way she goes. So that's what we're going to do here. We'll see how good we are with what am I trying to say? Hopefully you can see is what I'm trying to say. The fun times here are that it has rained literally all day, and then now when I want to come outside and do something, the sun came out and made it hot and muggy, and there's tons of little mosquitoes flying around now. So I guess I'm going to enjoy their company while I punch you in the face. See, what I'm expecting now is I'm going to twist something up in the starter, and then I'll get to, you know, have the starter rebuilt too, or buy this solenoid, which is probably $150, because why not? Why wouldn't it be? Set our stuff aside. We're going to be rewiring it all anyway at some point. Probably not going to be just yet. Like I said, I'd really like to see it run and make sure everything is really working the way that it's supposed to. And then from there, we'll do the finishing touches. But I don't know. This thing is definitely, it's definitely made me earn it. I mean, it just hasn't been a fun time necessarily. We're going to have to learn from the 1750 and use an adjustable wrench to do this, because apparently that is a millimeter size on this solenoid for some reason. None of my standard size stuff is fitting. Yeah, we're going to probably be totally ate up by mosquitoes by the time we're done with this. But that's okay. Oh, I remember now something important. So, this one, I remember that now. We'll just hope that that doesn't go in there too far and mess itself up, and then we can't do anything. But what's happening here is I didn't have enough stud to get all these cables on. So the back nut had to come off, and everything was just being held tight with the outer nut. I hope that's going to work, friends. I mean, whatever. It's not the first time we've failed at something. So, luckily, we just had practice taking a starter off of a tractor. That 1750 would actually be a very similar vintage, probably, to this 550, because this is a very late 550. And this is a very similar starter, although smaller than the one that was on the 1750. But the same problems persist with this that do with the bigger tractor, in that your socket can get stuck behind some stuff if you don't watch what you're doing. So you don't want to go full bore out and then find out you got your socket wedged, and then you can't reverse the ratchet and you get yourself in a mess, and then sadness happens. And you know, sadness happens, friends. That's just the way she goes. No, we're not done yet getting that out of there. False. It turned real easy by hand, and then it hit a tough spot. And now it's one of those where it's too tough to turn by hand, but it's too loose to run the ratchet. So you gotta, you know, go back and forth between some stuff. And I don't know. See, there it hits the tough spot. And I can't quite get it. So then we're going to do this. And then we're going to struggle bus. Come on, baby doll. No, you're not seeing things. This is taking incredibly long for no reason. You know. Probably because I got other stuff I'd like to do tonight. So it's gonna make me work for it, friends. It's gonna make me work for it. I did think ahead though and set up the next project inside of a building so there can be lighting if we decide to work into the dark. There we go. There we go. I need to look as well before we're done. Of course, that will be in the testing driving phase. But something about me thinks I looked once at this and the cylinders are not the same distance back on both sides, and they really should probably be. So we need to make sure that's just as good as it can be, but okay. Starter. Let's get out of there. I don't remember. Do we go down first? Maybe we go down first. Yep, we go down, and then out, and then up and over, and then she's good. And what else do we do? Well, we find a place to set the starter so that we don't end up, we don't want to get it where it doesn't work and then have to rebuild it. That'd be just dandy, wouldn't it? All right. We can do a number of different things here. We got this loose, so that can't hurt us anymore. We need to take our, I've had these loose so many times, it's ridiculous. And yet, it's the same kind of condition. They're loose enough that you think you could do it by hand, and then just one of those frustrations of life. All right. That'll be fine. What are the chances that we could get this out of the... We'll just loosen it and pivot it. That's what I'm thinking. Can we? Oh, no, we can't because of the... It's easier to take it loose on both ends and pull it totally backwards than try to fight the... Oh, you know what I'm saying. I shouldn't even narrate. You know what's going on. I'm taking stuff loose. That's all that amounts to this. Come on. Oh, dang it. All right. Return line's off. I'm thinking about asking him while he's got it this time, and we can show you that here in a little bit, but I'm thinking about seeing if he can update this pump a little. This is one of the ones that's got that rubber line to the side cover, and then your check valve, your glass check valve is actually in that, and then this is just a straight through fitting. And I wonder if you could put a solid side cover on and put a check ball in here like we normally do, so that I don't have to have that. That hose is a known failure point, friends, and that is really a bummer when that starts leaking, because really the only way to fix it is to pull the pump off, because you can't really get to it as is. So I'm gonna discuss that with him. I might have to change the return lines to do, if we can't get that T to the same height or something, but basically I would rather do that and have it set up in a lot better position for him than it is. So I don't know. Like I said, somebody complained about this hydraulic line or this hose and said they didn't know about it for a fuel hose, but that's what was on it. I just had a new one made and said, make me like whatever's here. And that's what it is. Now maybe that's wrong. Maybe I need to make something else and whatever. Really, honestly, I don't know why I couldn't use a metal line, because this is going to vibrate the same as this, is it not? It's bolted to the motor. It's not like if the fuel filter was mounted to the frame and then it went hosed to the pump, then I can see where you would maybe benefit from, you know what I'm saying. I need to get an actual wrench. Adjustables are too wide, and the question is do we have enough? I don't know. Let me just go grab one. They're right behind me, so it's not like it's a terrible thing. Okay, is it this? It is. It's a half. Eighth-inch pipe thread on that end, and some other kind of pipe thread on this end, or I don't know. We'll study on that while the pump's gone and decide what we want to do. But for now, yeah. Okay. Now, this is going to be a fun, thrilling time. Injection lines. We need to also kind of remember what the firing order is and which line goes where, because I foresee a problem where a guy could end up with one or two swapped if he wasn't paying enough attention. But it should be straightforward because everything is bent and goes in its specific spot. But number 1 is out here. This is mainly referenced for me, that way I don't forget. 1, this one is 2, then this one should be 4, and then this last one in the back should be 3, and it is. And that's our firing order. So we should be good to go. Let's get that. And I've had all these loose already, except for the number 3 up top. So let's see, that would be tight. We need to go this other way. Yep, we'll get her. Number 1, and it looks like no fuel made it up there. So this whole time we were cranking for nothing. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to lay these lines so that I don't get them all mixed up. That's what I was mainly worried about. That probably didn't make sense a minute ago when I was talking, but I don't want to have to sort out which one's which later on. It would be much easier to just take the time now to lay them out so I know what's what. And they're short enough and close together enough that I guess there's no reason or possible way to have a clamp to hold them together. A lot of injection systems have at least one clamp that holds a majority of the lines all together somewhere, but there's really no need here. Will that pull that back a little? Yeah, that might help us after a while. Maybe I can even get that up out of the way or something. It's kind of annoying. Ooh, that one was under tension. Not very nice, is it? And these are very precise, friends. They're all the same length. That's why they're bent into goofy shapes, because if you had one longer than the other, your timing would be wrong. This, you have to have the same length of tube in your injection lines, or you won't have the same timing. And that would be sad. So don't think you can just, you know, compression fitting one back together or something or whatever. It's going to change your timing. You can have them brazed up if it looks like there's a hole, as long as they don't seal it off where it can't get through, but you can't really, yeah, you don't have a lot of choice on injection lines. If they're too bad, you're going to have to just replace them as is. And if you remember back to our 200 Alice Chalmers affair, this right here is what I was talking about. I like the Oliver design better because we got these little stub lines, and we can just turn the injection lines off of there, and we don't have to worry about trying to put the banjo and the little washers in with the pump on the tractor. You know, we already got the hard part done. Then we can work out here in the open with offset wrenches or whatever we'd have to do. If you had a 6-cylinder, it's a little more crowded, but still, you got, in theory, a lot more room on a setup such as this. Oh, good. I wondered. I hadn't dropped the wrench yet today where it was out of my way. And, of course, the magnet's not in here, so took it with me to something else, so I don't know. We're just going to struggle. Oh, friends. What luck. Okay, that one's loose. Definitely. Definitely loose. Oh, these are the long boring parts of the tape that get cut out. Parts of the tape there. Parts of the tape where we're just sitting there trying to come up with something to say to break the monotony of nut loosening. All right, friends, what have you missed? Well, you got too hot, and I have been working, and I think I got this timed up. This was the closest I ever came to thinking that maybe it didn't have a mark on it, because I went around and around and around, and that whole disc was covered with just brown. I mean, you couldn't see anything. I'd have to scrape it off. And then I got around to where I think I found the line finally. But now there's another oddity that I don't know that I have seen. Am I that dense and I have missed it all these years? Or does it have something to do with the one that has the hose? But it looks to me like right under the line, there is a notch in this disc. What's up with that? Is that to let stuff go through to that check ball every time it comes around? Possibly. But I'm convinced that's the line right there. And then that matches up with that line. So that's what we're gonna go with, because yeah, I mean, there ain't no use in going roundy roundy round. I guess if I screw it all up, I just remember that notch was there under the thing. I don't know. So next, I don't know that we really need the light, but maybe it's a nice thing for you to have. I don't know. It probably really messes with the camera a lot. I probably should put it like indirect lighting. But we got to get our bolts loose. And this could be a struggle of sadness, friends, because this one has that one in the back. Can Ross get an obstruction wrench on it? Yes, he can. Now, in theory, I should be able to get these off of here, because he just had this off before I got it. So, and again, I'm starting with the most difficult one to get to, because I am certain that by the time we get this done, we will be royally frustrated, and then we will wish that we had this all done and our life was over. So we might as well do the hard to get to one first. That's weird. I can't. Did he not have that all the way tight? I bet he didn't. He didn't have that back one all the way tight, because I can actually get my wrench behind it, and I haven't moved it that much yet. I just thought of another problem, though, that I'm going to encounter. I'm going to get this wrench stuck before too much longer, if I haven't already. I need to switch and do the outside two with an open end, or not, or I'll just sit there and cry, because now that's ridiculous. That shouldn't be that tight. Yeah, see, we gotta get this pulled forward a little bit to get the nuts all the way off. It appears to me that this front one is not the best nut. Like somebody has already been rounding on it a little, because it wanted to round on me. And the more I look at it, it looks like somebody's been there before, so they just put the worst nut in front, which is good that wasn't the one that was in the back. But nonetheless, why can't it just work perfectly? Why does it always have to have something wrong with it? Why can't we ever have one work where it's just simple, you know? That's one thing I like about the Alice Chalmers setup better than this, is they only have 2 bolts. So you don't quite have this problem like you do. But they can't all be perfect. There's something about every tractor that you wish you could change a little bit. Come on. Good on there. Look at that umbrella seal. Very spiked up. I wonder if it was putting fuel in the oil. Now, this is kind of odd because, yeah, look how nasty that is. All that fuel on there. I don't like this umbrella seal here. So I'm starting to think that maybe maybe this wasn't wasted effort, because they don't usually look that sharp. I wonder if this was rolled over part way like that. I have never run this tractor long enough. I've never run it long enough to know if it was putting fuel in the oil. So that is very possible, but this umbrella seal, that shouldn't look quite like that. That's something's wrong. So I think we can maybe make ourselves feel a slight bit better, because if he would have run it, it would have been where he would have had to pull the pump anyway. Because, you know what I'm saying? And some people are going to say, why'd you do it that way? Why didn't you take the gear out of the front and do whatever? I think this is easier myself. I mean, you got to take the starter off, but you know what I'm saying? Okay, let me get the light here so maybe you can see. Maybe you can see like that. But you see that scribe line? The camera won't focus very good, and I don't think I don't know how to do it. Well, it's not that way because it shuts you off. I was thinking if you pushed a button on the camera, I could tap the screen and get it to focus. But at any rate, there is a scribed line right there, and then it matches up with this one. But the thing that's puzzling to me is this notch that's in there. They don't all have that. But what I'm thinking that notch has to do with, let me get it back lined up again. I'm thinking that notch has to do with the back here, which inside of there should be a check ball in that window. And then it's got this hose, and somebody's already been in here and clamped it and whatever. And boys, I don't like that setup myself. I would rather have it switched. There's a dead moth. Too many things going on in my brain here at once. Get out of there, yo. Let's just take this loose and see if you can see the check ball. Normally, this is a plain thing and the check ball's up here. And I think this here is the earlier setup, and they changed it and went to, because people got tired of having to pull a pump to fix a hose leaking, you know. Because all that's doing is taking your extra fuel and it's putting it into the return, or actually the supply system. So I'm sure there was reasons for that, but boy, that's plugged up with trash too, isn't it? Well, there's trash against it. It's not really plugged up. But yeah, this pump, and that's my fault for letting it sit, but it's full of nastiness, you know? Just total nastiness. And confession time, I have let it soak with seafoam. I took the top off and drained the fuel out of it and filled it up with seafoam and let it sit, hoping that I would potentially dissolve some of whatever was in there and make her run again. Because I think if we could have got it running, I think it would have come right out of that. But we didn't, because, you know, stupid. That's the way she goes. But another thing I'm going to do before we put this back together is siphon out all of his fuel, or whatever fuel's in there. because it's got some old and some new in it that I put in. So I'm going to siphon out whatever's in the tank is what I'm saying, and then I'm going to put in absolutely fresh fuel for this next go round. And we're going to just put this on. Let's do it loosely. And then we'll take this to him tomorrow and we will get this taken care of, because this has been long enough coming. But yeah, progress is being made, friends. It's a lot slower than I'd like it to be, and it's a lot more unfortunate than I'd like it to be. However, I would rather this be right, and since it appears that his umbrella seal was not very good, it kind of naturally follows in my mind that perhaps we're doing this thing more good than we realize. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise. It's an unfortunate blessing that's going to hit my wallet, but that's the only right thing to do, because it was running when it came and it needs to be running when it leaves. So yeah, we're going to call this one here. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. After watching what you just saw, do you feel like your IQ has dropped lower than your credit score? Well, there's no reason that both of us should be miserable, so go ahead and hit that thumbs up and leave a comment. That stuff costs you nothing, and it really helps me out. Your banker may not approve, but I know mine will. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.